You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high. Cause St. Louis isn't ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold on, we just saying hi. Five somebody rise up weekdays. Catch us live, somebody. Let's go.
Good morning. Good afternoon and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope you guys are all doing well out there. Hope this show finds you in good spirits, because another day above the dirt is always a blessing. Let's not forget that. Happy Monday, everybody. Happiest of Mondays to all y'all. I know. We are here to talk about some things that aren't so happy, but nonetheless, another day above the dirt is always a blessing, y'all. So come on in here. We got some things to talk about. We got some things to cover. There is a press conference that's going to be happening here in a little over a half hour from now that I'm really looking forward to, because I want to know more about what's going on here. I got some questions, which of course we are going to discuss and talk about here very, very soon. So if you guys can do me a solid before we get into everything, hit that like button down below, crush it, do what it do, hit that reaction button if you're watching on other platforms. If you are watching on those other platforms like Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, Twitch, Kick, I'm on all those, guys. So make sure you're hitting that follow button. Of course, hit that reaction button on the actual feed. That'll be greatly appreciated. All right. Don't forget, if you can, hit that subscribe button here on my YouTube channel. Go check out the Pascal Show clips, my other channel, and another channel I have called Pascal Raw. Subscribe to those channels, please and thank you. All right. We got some things coming. Some things are coming. So make sure you are subscribed. Subscribe. All right. Hit that join button down below. Become a member. Oh, I forgot. Hit that notification bell. Set it to all so you know whenever I go live, whenever I upload, because it is random. Okay? A lot of times it's breaking news. Let me say that again, too. Hit that join button down below. Become a member. Check that out if you can. Support the channel if you can. Check out my Patreon. And, of course, check out PascalMerch.com. Okay? All right, guys. We're going to get straight into the meat and potatoes here. All right. We got some things to talk about and some things coming, things to talk about before we go into this press conference. Like I said, in about 31 minutes or so, a little over a half hour from now, they're supposedly having a press conference, which, of course, I think a lot of us are really looking forward to, because we all want to know exactly what the heck happened here, or what's the story behind the missing and now the recovery of Kada Scott's remains. Now, obviously, if you guys are still kind of new to this story, there has been some, this is a very, very strange and very terrible and tragic story, where you have a Miss USA hopeful, very young, very smart, very driven woman by the name of Kada Scott went off to work. Minutes after her arriving to her work, which was an assisted living facility, she walks out of the job, or walks out of the building, never to be seen or heard from ever again. Now, a lot of people are still trying to understand why this whole thing went down. What's the origin story of this? What caused this whole thing to go down? I think a lot of us are also wondering, is there something else going on here, or is it just what we're hearing from the stories so far? A lot of us are wondering about this Keon King guy. It just doesn't make any sense, y'all. I mean, it does. If it was just a situation where he just pulled up, saw her, attacked her, grabbed her, then took her somewhere, took her to that abandoned high school or that abandoned middle school building, okay, and did what he did to her, right? But I feel like there's something more going on here. I really am. I'm very curious about what actually happened here. To me, I feel, and I could be wrong, this is just what I'm saying, what my gut feeling is telling me, that maybe there's more to this story. Maybe there's a whole lot more to this story than what we've seen at the surface. Because it just doesn't make any sense. Like I said, she walks out of her job minutes after being there, several minutes after being there. I mean, she wasn't there for 7 hours and then she went back out. She was there for maybe 20 to 40 minutes. She clocked in 20 to 40 minutes later. She walks right back outside and she disappears, right? Disappears out of nowhere. What was the reason why she went back outside? Now, this is Keon King. He's the one who turned himself in, saying that he is the person that took Kada against her will. But I'm wondering the dynamics and the relationship here. And I don't mean relationship. I don't even mean that in a romantic way. I'm just saying, what's the connection here between these two? Between Kada and Keon. Yeah, this thing was tripping. Sorry, guys. What's the connection here? Y'all, I got so many questions. One is for sure. I have a question. Could she have been set up? I mean, clearly she was set up, okay? She was set up. Whether it was just by him or somebody else. But I'm wondering, was she set up? Was this something? Of course, I'm just asking the questions, okay? I'm not trying to spin a narrative. I'm not trying to put anything out here, but I'm asking the questions that I think we all are trying to understand. Because again, you got Kada. It's got a lot of great things going for her, right? Future super bright. You got to wear shades, right? Wow, that was a deep cut. But then suddenly out of nowhere, she just walks out of her job and gets taken by the likes of this guy. Honestly, what's the story here? What's the connection? Now, I've heard stories about him being the town's pharmacist, if you get what I'm saying. Like he hooked it up. Okay, he was the plug. Okay, actually, sorry. He for those of y'all who don't know what I mean, okay, because I said pharmacist, and then I also said he was the plug, and that might be a little bit too complicated for some of y'all. Okay, so he had things like substances. Okay, he was a dealer. All right, for those of y'all who don't know, okay, he was moving weight out here in these streets. Now, what was he moving? Sounds like pills. Sounds like some green. Sounds like whatever he had. He was hustling. But he also was somebody who was also out here running around, stalking, breaking into people's homes or trying to break into people's homes, innocent young women, and then putting his hands on them. So could that be the connection? Could that be what it is? Remember what I said? Oh man, now this came. Then it's all coming back to me now. Celine Dion. I don't know if you guys remember, but we talked about this. We talked about this whole text app where she said to her parents before she disappeared that she was getting harassing phone calls, text messages, so on and so forth. Right? She said that to her parents before she disappeared. So here's the thing. Let's try to piece this together. And let me just put this up here too. This is speculation warning. This is just speculation. All right? Like I said, in about 25 or so minutes, less than 25 minutes from now, we're going to be hearing from the police. They're supposed to give us more information, provide more details about what happened here and what kind of future, what the future holds for this guy, for this monster, Keon King. But just rock with me for a second, all right? Speculation warning. Just rock with me. Here's the thing. All right. These are just theories, okay? We're just rocking with theories. He's known as the local, at least that's what they've been saying out here in these streets, that he's known as the local pharmacist, okay? He the plug, all right? He the dealer. Could it have been, and he was using this, apparently they were doing text messages through a text message app that basically you can text each other without showing your phone number, right? There's like an anonymous DMs that they can have back and forth. And I said it the other day. I'm like, why would you need to have text messages like that? That sounds like something like, you work, you working in these streets, actually, or something else, right? I said that on the other show. I'm like, that just doesn't make any sense. Why would anybody want to text message each other through that app? Why would you do that? Why would you use that app, right? So here's the thing. Now that we are finding out, or that the streets are saying that he is a local pharmacist, that maybe that's the reason why he was using that app in the first place. And maybe this is the reason why they were able to connect, because maybe she called him up for a hookup. And I don't mean the hibbity dibbity. I mean some party favors. And maybe that's how they met. And then he became obsessed. Again, speculation. Speculation warning. The streets are talking. Oh, you need a little hookup, blah, blah, blah. You need a little Zanny, you need some Addy, you know what I mean? Hey, I got this guy. He's great. Just you got to text him through this app. And then boom, they get together. He meets her and he becomes infatuated. And maybe he's out there asking questions about homegirl. I'm just saying. Could it be? Possibly. But maybe he was like hooking her up with something. It could have been something as simple and as innocent as trees. That devil's lettuce. Okay? He's hooking it up. He's hooking her up. Then he sees her and he's like, boom. Remember, if you notice, we saw the video before, okay? And if we have time, I might show it to you guys again. I'm going to have to find it, of course. But you remember that video? He's hopping over a fence, for crying out loud. He climbed a fence, and then he's trying to get into this girl's home. For what reason? To do something really bad. And then later on, he was able to get one of those girls while he had his 2-year-old kid in the back seat, took that girl against her will, and then tried to do some really, really bad things, attacked her. Of course, she got away. She's still alive to tell the story, but at the same time, he didn't give two damns. He might be getting high off his own supply, you feel me? That's what it sounds like to me. So there's something here where I am kind of curious. Could it be as simple as she was looking for a hookup? She got a number. She messaged the guy. A simple deal happens. Because she, for God knows what, she wanted to kick it, have a good time, whatever it is, whatever the hell it is, right? That she was getting something from him, the local pharmacist. And then he just became obsessed. Because instantly I'm going, how would he know? How would he know about her, and all that, right? How would they even connect? Like I said, Someone who, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all. Okay, because I don't like this guy. Clearly, we don't like this man. Okay, we can roast him. We can roast him like crazy. But let's talk about this. Let's just say the quiet part out loud. Let's address the elephant in the room. How? Why would this girl ever want to have a conversation or be connected to the likes of this guy? Come on, y'all. Come on now. You really think she's like, oh, he cute? Really? The local pharmacist makes a whole lot more sense than her being like, oh yeah, I'll go out on a date with that guy. It definitely annihilates the whole catfish idea. Here's the other thing too. Hold on. Here's the other thing too. Still, we're in speculation warning land. What if she literally went out there, okay, 20, 40 minutes after clocking into work to get a hookup? Hear me out. The presser has not started yet, guys. We have a little over 15 minutes now for the presser, just so you guys know. Just rock with me for a second. Hear me out. Hear me out, babies. Hold on. Shh. Hold on. Shh. Hear me out. What if she was going to work? She sent a message to dude. Maybe she owed him money. Maybe she was just getting a hookup. Which still doesn't make any sense. I'll explain that here in a second. But she went out for the hookup. She went out there to get her stuff, to make a deal happen, and then he snatched her. Because again, if she was literally worried and scared for her life about this guy, why wouldn't she bring somebody out there with her to tell him to kick rocks, F off, or she's calling 5-0? Think about it. What makes her go all the way down there? Is she quick? It was quick. Why would she leave her job real quick right there to walk out into that parking lot that quickly? If it wasn't for some sort of deal, which it sounds like it could have been, they were trying to make a transaction happen. You feel me? That's maybe the reason why she didn't turn to a friend or another guy, security guard or whatever that works at the facility and say, can you come with me? Because this guy's really creeping me out and I need him to kick rocks. And I just need somebody there just in case he just, he's lost his marbles today. Wouldn't that make more sense for her to turn to, if it was a situation where she's trying to tell him to back off and leave her alone? Wouldn't that make more sense? But he also is the plug. So if she was like, I can't stand this dude, but I need the hookup, and he's the only one I know that got it, that hookup, she might still be like, all right, this is just business. Boom. Right? I'm at this particular spot. Come through. He's like, I'm outside. She's like, I bet. She goes out there. Here's the money. You know what I mean? Here's the money. Here's your stuff. And he goes and he grabs her. I know. It may sound far-fetched to y'all. Some of y'all might be picking up what I'm putting down. Some of y'all might be smelling what I'm cooking. And some might not agree with this at all. But nonetheless, we did learn that, of course, the remains that have been found are indeed, let me get the speculation warning thing out of here, is that indeed the remains are indeed Kada Scott's remains. All right? That is for sure. After DNA testing, they found out that those remains are definitely Kada Scott's. Let's take a look at this article here real quick. All right? But like I said, guys, this is just a theory. Okay, these are just theories. Um, I could be 100% on. I could be completely off. Okay, but nonetheless, this guy turned himself in. They found her body in the backyard, or in the in this abandoned schoolyard. Okay, on school grounds of an abandoned school. And they have run DNA tests saying that this is indeed Kada Scott. Now, let's take a look at this. So, 2 weeks after 23-year-old Kada Scott disappeared while working her overnight shift at a senior living community in Chestnut Hill, human remains were discovered behind a vacant school in Philadelphia's Germantown. We're gonna talk. There's a lot to talk about. Okay. Nonetheless, we gotta. I don't know what this is all about. A rapping lawyer. We good. We good on that. Thank you so much for that. Anyway, now a memorial is growing at the scene. The remains, which police said appeared to be those of a female, were found in a shallow grave. So now we are understanding that it was found that he tried to bury her in a shallow grave in a heavily wooded area on this abandoned school yard. Okay. Law enforcement sources say DNA testing indicates the remains are those of Scott. The sources said Sunday that DNA from the remains matches Scott's parents. Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner, is expected to talk more about the case around 11 a.m., which will be 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. So literally in about 12 minutes, they're supposed to be having a press conference about this. So the discovery of human remains comes as the last person to contact the 23-year-old remains in jail. So last week, 21-year-old Keon King of South Philly was charged for kidnapping in the case, as well as in a separate case from earlier this year that had been initially dropped when the witness did not appear in court, which is the biggest problem I have. They still should have tried that man, still should have hit him with charges because of what he had done. But those charges were dropped, okay? Because the witness was too scared. Excuse me. Because the witness was too scared to testify, too scared to appear in court. This man should have still been locked up no matter what. Judge should have said, we don't care that she's not here. What you did is wrong. What you did is deplorable, and you're going to pay the price. Justice is still going to strike its hammer down, and it's going to strike its hammer hard on top of you. But nope, they said, okay, you can go, bro. And he went back out to do more. Let's not forget the other things that he has done. There are 4 victims in total, guys, that we know of. Let's just say that again, that we know of, okay? He's got 1 active protection from abuse order from a 3rd victim. And that active protection order is still going on until 2027. Then he has another. He's a suspect in a prior R case. That's 4 people. Now he has murder upon his head as well. That's 4 victims right there. 4 of them. We already saw the video of him hopping over the fence, trying to get into these 2 girls' home, only for him to later on stick around. He stuck around waiting. And then those girls stepped out of their home because eventually they're going to have to get out the house to do God knows what. He took one of them there with his 2-year-old in the back seat, y'all. We've talked about this, but I can't help but continue to say it over and over and over again. 2-year-old in the back seat. That video that you saw, he had a 2-year-old in the back seat of his car. And after that video was filmed, he stuck around. He waited for those girls to come out. He pounced and he grabbed one. Viciously attacked her. And that's the one that was too scared to appear in court, which I totally understand. Okay, I ain't mad at her. I understand that. But it's up to the courts and it's up to the justice system to stick it to the man. Well, you know what I mean. Stick it to this monster. Okay? and they did nothing. They let him out, and then he was off to do more. And he did what he did with Kada. And God knows what else he did to Kada. Let's not forget that. They have not told us exactly what he did. We don't know if he put his paws on her in that kind of way or if he AR'd her. We don't know anything. All we know is that her remains were found in a shallow grave in an abandoned schoolyard. So he's being held on $2.5 million bail. In the 2 weeks prior to Saturday's discovery, law enforcement had searched the grounds near the school and nearby Aubrey Boretum. Sorry, if I'm destroying that, I apologize. Bringing in additional canine units from New Jersey, and at one point shutting down Philadelphia's police academy to have 300 recruits comb the area. So they pulled out all the stops trying to find this young girl, this young woman. Physical evidence, including Scott's phone case and debit card, were discovered, but not Scott. Then a tip that came in overnight Friday had units back out to that area Saturday morning. The tip was very specific. That led us back to this location here. We want the people, the person. We want the people, the person we have in custody, and anyone else who may have been involved. We want them held accountable to the highest degree of the law for what they have done. Now, again, let me just point this out, okay? What's crazy about this, okay? What's crazy about this is that there was an anonymous phone call. And that person said, yes, you can go to this specific area by this specific spot, and you will be able to find her remains. Someone called that in. So let me just say this really quick, okay? Someone called this in. So this is the reason why I'm like, did he really operate alone? Did he operate all by himself, or was there somebody else involved? Sure, he pulled up in the ride. Could there have been somebody else in the ride with him? And I'm not talking about his 2-year-old kid. I mean, another person. How would they know exactly where her remains are? Think about that for a second. I mean, there's some possibilities here. 1, there was somebody in the car with him. 2, that helped him. Okay. 2, he called somebody up to confess before he turned himself in, because maybe his conscience came into play. Guilty conscience. I can't believe I just did this. Maybe. Told a friend. Friend was like, yo, you need to turn yourself in. Did he call up his mama? Dad? I'm just saying. It makes you wonder, right? Because it just doesn't make it seems strange that 1 minute everyone's scratching their heads. Police are scratching their heads because let's not forget that facility did not have any security cams. 0. Within and outside the facility. Her place of work. 0 security cams. Not even security cameras out in the parking lot, y'all. 0. So the police were scratching their heads. This could have gone a lot longer. This could have gone on a lot longer if this monster, Keon King, did not turn himself in. Think about that for a second. Sure, they would have been able to do reverse math and do all that stuff that they needed to do, but it would have taken a little bit longer. Trying to find the guy, trying to figure it all out. If he didn't turn himself in, I don't think that we would be right where we're at right now, as soon. So again, like I said, it just doesn't make any sense. Who is the anonymous tip? Who called the police and said, yeah, you need to go right here. And then once you get past that little pine cone on the side with that tree that kind of looks like like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Yeah, that's where she is. What? That's some very specific. They said the tip was very specific. That led us back to this location here. Who could that have been? It could have been family, right? It could have been a family member, right? So the remains were removed from the scene by late Saturday afternoon. The remains now are being handled by the medical examiner's office. Police are still working to determine how King and Scott knew each other. This is exactly what I'm talking about. How the did they know each other, right? But they believe the pair came into contact in the days before the disappearance on October 4th. Duh. Okay. Before her disappearance, Scott had told people that she was being harassed, but it's unclear if King was the person allegedly harassing her. Now, that's the other thing too. You never know. She could have been absolutely sitting there going like, hey, they're making this guy, he could just be the dealer, and there could have been other people harassing her solely because they were jealous. There's plenty of people out here that get jelly over people who are living their lives, that look great, that seem like they have their whole life together, take perfect Instagram photos and videos, always looking put together. Plenty of haters out here. Plenty of people don't want to see people succeed, which is kind of sad. Instead of being like proud of their glow up, you know what I'm saying? They're just sitting there just talking trash because, you know what I mean? Because comparison is the thief of joy. Facts. So again, maybe it's two completely different things. You got a go-getter, good looking, smart. She's getting her ish together. She's winning beauty pageants. It's possible that she could have, a hater out there on the sidelines just saying, boo! And then you have a psychopath as your dealer that suddenly decides to go after, decides to just take her. It could be separate or it could be both at the same time. But like I said, it is interesting that why would she go and call up the guy that she's scared of to, you know what I mean? Why would she even hit up and talk to the guy? The only reason why I can think of is he has the plug. He's got the hookup. He's the only one that she knows has the hookup. If he's the one that was making, harassing phone calls and whatnot, right? That's if and only if that's happening, right? So again, like I said, this is some very, very interesting stuff. Press conference has not happened yet, guys. I'm still waiting. Look, I will show you guys proof positive. Bang. It still has not happened. Okay. So when it comes on, we will definitely be talking. We will definitely be listening and watching and tuning into all the information. Okay. And then after the press conference, there are a few other things I want to share with y'all. Because of course, this is just, I'm kind of curious, right? Because again, like I said, she could have been set up. That's what the streets are saying right now. Streets are saying she was set up. But I don't know. I don't know if she was set up. I truly think she hit him up for very specific reasons. And those reasons were he was the plug. That's what I think. Come on. All right. Oh, I hate when they do this. All right. Looks like they're going to get started here. What's popping? Hit that like button down below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, please, and thank you.
Everybody ready?
We got some things to talk about afterwards. Let's go.
Thank you all for being here. Ordinarily, this would be our Monday press conference in which we focus on two different things. One of them being gun violence data, and another being a related special topic. That is not what we're doing today. This press conference is yielding to the needs and the wishes and the priorities of the family of Kada Scott in the process of addressing those needs. We will be announcing that there are new charges being brought against Keon King. We'll get into the details, but the bottom line is a second case has already been approved, and we expect there to be a new arrest today, in all likelihood, of Keon King when he is brought in from the jail.
Never mind.
The arrest will be for burning of a car, arson, causing catastrophe, conspiracy, several other charges, and we'll get into the details of that in a moment. But more than anything, as I said, this is a press conference that I hope will in some way address some of the needs and wishes of the family. At this time, I'd like to identify some of the good people who are here. We have with us Philadelphia City Council member Anthony Phillips from the 9th Council District, who has been extremely heavily involved in addressing the family's needs, as have other city officials, but extremely heavily involved, including in a meeting with the family where I was also present. He will be talking about the efforts that his office is making specifically to address the family's needs when he speaks later during this conference. We have First Assistant DA Robert Listenby here, ADA Ashley Kozlowski of the DAO's Homicide Non-Fatal Shooting Unit, who is handling this matter in close communication with me and others, but is handling this matter. We'll be addressing some of the new developments in the case. ADA Bob Wainwright, who is her chief, the chief of the DAO's Homicide Non-Fatal Shooting Unit, is present. Mariel Dela Cruz, who is the director of the DAO's Victim Services Unit, is here. Donna Wood, who is director of DAO's Relocation Unit, is here. We have Tania Leonard with us today, who is the director of the DAO's CARES Unit. And we have Marcus Allen. Mr. Allen is the cousin of Kada Scott on the mother's side, and he is present here on behalf of the family of Kada Scott. While he will not be reading it, he will be standing with us when a statement from the mother and father of Kada Scott is read today. That statement will also be put up on the screen so that you will have the text of it. Over the last several weeks, Mayor Sherrell Parker, the Philadelphia Police Department, the Philadelphia DA's office, elected local officials as well as faith leaders and community leaders have been showing acts of kindness, support, advocacy, prayer for Kada Scott's family. Yesterday, I had the chance to visit Kada Scott's mother, father, sister, uncle, and cousins, along with Philadelphia City Council member Anthony Phillips and some other members of our team, to speak to them, to listen to and to access their current needs, to explore how the DAO can assist them and walk with them through this horrific and difficult journey, to express our condolences to them in person, and to offer resources through our external engagement operations, which include our Victim Services Unit and our CARES Unit. We also were there to provide the most recent update on the investigation, to answer their questions about the prosecutorial process, its details, its timing, and what they, as a family, can expect next in the criminal justice process. It was very important to me for them to get some details about the case, which is developing almost hourly from us, and not just from the media. And that is no disrespect to the media, but it's hard for a family to read and learn things about a loved one for the first time on a television screen or on social media or by reading an article. So we wanted to make sure that we conveyed to them as early as possible, as much as possible, so that they would have the information that they wanted and that they needed. During the sit-down with the family, we made a commitment that today's press conference would be all about their daughter. And therefore, as I've already mentioned, there are certain things that we want to cover today. We want to cover a statement that is to be read and released to the media on behalf of the family, specifically written and approved by the mother and father of Kada Scott. We want to cover some recent developments within the investigation and prosecution of Keon King. We want to continue our request for the community's assistance, tips, and information that would help the investigation and strengthen the prosecution against defendant Keon King. Let's understand the community has already done tremendous work in aiding progress with this investigation. We are simply asking for more. And we also want to convey the upcoming effort to support the family of Kada Scott, led by City Council member Anthony Phillips of the 9th Council District, including the use of his office for that purpose, and we will let him speak about that. I'd like to start with the family's statement. Tania Leonard, who is the director of the DAO's CARES unit, and Mariel Dela Cruz, Jessica Serrano, victim witness coordinator, will stand with Tania, is going to read that statement on behalf of the family. Standing with them, of course, will be Mr. Marcus Allen. Although he will not be speaking today, he will be here at their request and as their presence in this moment. You should know that Tania, who was present when Councilmember Phillips and I spoke to the family, will be working collaboratively with them and with our internal and external victim advocates to prioritize critical, necessary services to support the family and communities that are impacted by this horrific killing. Tania Leonard and friends.
Good morning. I'm Tania Leonard, the Director of Crisis Assistance, Response, and Engagement Unit here at the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office. And on behalf of the CARES unit, I want to begin by extending our deepest care and support to the family of Kada Scott during this unimaginable, difficult time. CARES was created to stand with families who have experienced this type of tragedy and to walk beside them, help them access the support they need, and ensure they are not alone in days and weeks ahead. Yesterday evening, members of our team met with the mother and father of Kada Scott at their home alongside the district attorney to offer our continued presence, resources, and support as they navigate this profound loss. At this time, with the family's permission, we'll share a statement prepared by Kada's mother and father as we stand in solidarity with the family as a unit, as victim advocates, and as an office during this journey of grief and healing. Today, we'll say her name. Tomorrow, we'll say her name. And forever, we will say her name. It is with profound sadness that we share the tragic passing of our beloved daughter, Kada Scott. We kindly ask for space and privacy at this time as we process the heartbreaking events of the past few weeks. Our hearts are shattered, yet we are deeply grateful for the outpouring of love, support, and prayers from people across the nation and around the world. Please continue to keep us in prayer as we navigate this unimaginable loss. Our hearts are broken beyond measure. We are profoundly thankful to every person who shared Kada's story, joined the search efforts, prayed with us, and stood by our family during this devastating time. Your compassion, love, and strength have carried us when we could not carry ourselves. Kada was deeply loved. Her light, kindness, and beautiful spirit will forever remain in our hearts. We also wish to extend our heartfelt gratitude to Mayor Sherelle Parker, the Philadelphia Police Department, all first responders, local volunteers, community organizations, and media outlets, as well as everyone who worked tirelessly to help find our daughter. Although the outcome is one no parent should ever have to face, we remain thankful for the unity, leadership, and love that surrounded us through it all. As we continue to grieve, our family now seeks justice for Kada. We place our full trust in the Philadelphia Police Department and the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office to ensure that the truth is revealed and that those responsible are held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. Please honor Kada's memory by showing kindness and care to one another, just as she did every day of her life. With love, strength, and gratitude, the family of Kada Scott.
Thank you, Tania Leonard. Ashley Teslowski will be, at this time, lead counsel in the prosecution of Keon King and has been working tirelessly on every aspect of the case, including obtaining a warrant that contains additional charges. Those charges include arson, causing catastrophe, conspiracy, unauthorized use of an automobile, receiving stolen property, reckless endangerment of another person, tampering with evidence. We are not done, but this is a significant development in the prosecution itself, and obviously there have been other developments already reported over the weekend in the case. It is my pleasure to call forward Ashley Teslowski, who does about as good a job as anyone I've ever seen.
Thank you. As of last night, our office approved charges, as the DA just said, of arson, causing catastrophe, conspiracy, unauthorized use of an automobile, tampering with evidence, recklessly endangering another person, and receipt of stolen property. Those charges are in reference to the burning of a vehicle. That vehicle is a 2008 black Hyundai Accent. That vehicle first entered our radar last week. Investigators received a tip that there was a vehicle burning and that vehicle had some connection to this case. At the time last week, when investigators went to the location where the vehicle was burned, that vehicle was no longer there. It had already been towed, compacted, and was in a junkyard. This weekend, we recovered additional evidence, including video evidence that confirms that this vehicle, we believe, is the vehicle that Mr. Keon King used to move Ms. Scott. We recovered video out from near the Ada Lewis Middle School, where our search and the investigator search has been focused. There's a rec center directly next to that school. Video evidence was recovered from that rec center, and we are now able to say that this Hyundai Accent was on location at all of the times we're looking at all of the pertinent points in the investigation. That vehicle was stolen on October 3rd from the area of 6600 Sprague Street. We believe that vehicle is the vehicle that was used in this case. That vehicle was then on scene at that rec center, which ultimately, as we all know, is where we found Ms. Scott's human remains. Video evidence indicates it was on location. Video evidence then indicates it leaves the location. It is burned on October 7th. It was located at the 2300 block of 74th Avenue. When this new video evidence was uncovered this weekend, investigators from the homicide unit cross-referenced all of this information with the cell phone evidence that we had already gained and we had already been using in terms of the kidnapping case and other charges. What I can share is that the cell phone evidence, the call detail records, and timing advance data as it pertains to Keon King's mobile device puts him at all of the locations that we're talking about. It's on scene when the Hyundai Accent is there at the recreation center. It is on scene when the vehicle is burned. Based on that, last night I approved those charges, and as the DA said, we should have more information in terms of bail and a preliminary hearing date, hopefully this afternoon or certainly by tomorrow.
Damn.
Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate those details. Just a reminder to those in the public who have been so helpful, I think you just heard Ashley Teslowski talking about the fact that this burning automobile was connected to this case in part due to a tip from the public. I'm not kidding when I say that the public has played an enormous role here. I would ask residents of Philadelphia to continue reaching out with tips and information to seek justice for the family of Kada Scott and to allow us to have all the facts so we can justly and vigorously prosecute defendant Keon King and any other people who may have been involved with his activity. Philadelphia Police Department can accept this information at 215-686-TIPS. In other words, 215-686-TIPS. You could also call the DA's office at 215-686-8000, and we will make sure that your information is considered as an aspect of this investigation. It is now my pleasure to introduce Philadelphia City Council member Anthony Phillips of the 9th Council District, who has been on this, along with other city officials, to include Mayor Sherrell Parker, Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel, Council President Kenyatta Johnson, faith leaders, members of the faith community. Councilmember Phillips has been there from the start, and he has more to do. He has more to say about what it is the public can do to further assist this family. We are excited to have the opportunity to support the upcoming efforts of Councilmember Phillips in the mighty 9th Council District. And we are also delighted to continue our collaboration and partnership with him in many other ways as well. Councilmember Phillips.
Good morning. Thank you, District Attorney Krasner, for your efforts to bring this monster to justice. I'm not here to talk about the monster. I'm here to talk about Kada and the family. As District Attorney pointed out just recently, we had the opportunity to meet with the family of Kada. We had, quite some private conversation about some things that were really important to the family. And what we determined from that conversation from the family is the kindness and wonderfulness of who Kada was. And after speaking with the family, they told us some things that could be helpful to them. And so myself and our office has decided that we're going to try to support them in their efforts to help them with their needs. But before I begin, I just want to make this announcement. I just want to say that Kada Scott mattered. Her life matters. She was a kind woman. She, as the family has pointed out, Kada was kind. She was kind in how she helped support the elderly at her work. She was kind to her friends. She was kind to her family, her school teachers that she had, high school principals talked about her college administrators and staff and professors have spoken about her. They talked about her contagious joy and smile and wonderfulness. And so we're reminded that, tragedy strikes here in Philadelphia, and nothing can cease the pain that this family is going through. But what we can do as a city, and what we've been doing for the past several weeks as a city, is showing our kindness to this family. Because Kada is someone who could have been our sister, our cousin, just someone that is a friend or family member in our lives. That decency is something that we know throughout our lives, and it could have been anybody, any one of us. So I want you to know that because of that, Philadelphia cares, and because the family has asked for us to show kindness, to leave her legacy of kindness in a way that is shown and demonstrated. Today, our office has the intentions to open up a collection effort starting tomorrow with our office to collect gifts and items for Kada's family Some of the items the 9th District Office is accepting for the Scott family during this difficult time includes self-care items, toiletries, comfort and relaxation products, gift cards such as meal delivery services or general gift cards such as a Visa gift card or other store-related gift cards. For food, non-perishable food items, these gifts are intended for Kada's mother, father, and high school age sister, a young woman. The high school age sister is a young woman who continues to show incredible strength as she strives to prepare for college amid such heartbreak. We want her to know that her entire community stands behind her and cheering her on. So if donations can be dropped off at our office, City Councilmember Anthony Phillips' office on Wadsworth Avenue, located at 1514 Wadsworth Avenue, Philadelphia, PA 19150. Our office is going to be open from 8:30 to 4:30, Tuesday through Friday, starting this week. We're going to have special Saturday hours on Saturday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Where people can send their donations, bring their donations as well. If you have any questions, please call our office at 215-686-3454. This is an opportunity, again, for the city of Philadelphia to reflect the kindness. Again, I want to say this is an opportunity for the city of Philadelphia to reflect the kindness that Kada has shared. And we've already done that by helping promote and get the level of justice that she needs. But now let's show the family that we're not only there for them in that tragic moment, but we're going to be there for them after. So please make sure that we get as many donations as possible to 1514 Wadsworth Avenue, October 21st through the 25th. Our office is open 8:30 to 4:30 from Tuesday through Friday. And this Saturday, we're going to be open from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Again, self-care items, gift cards, and food and non-perishable items. Also want to remind folks that we did opportunity to speak to the family. And one of the things that the family did note to us, which is really important, is that they did say in their statement, respect their privacy. So that's why we're collecting the donations at our office, and we're going to be delivering it to them at a location that they want to be delivered to. But I want you to also know that they don't want people knocking on their doors, including members of the press, because it's traumatizing for them right now. You know, it's really traumatizing for them right now. And so we would like for folks to just hang off, members of the press to hang off for now from knocking on their doors, because that's what the family has desired. And I just, you know, we want to make sure that we, you know, we respect their wishes. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, GoFundMe for
Thank you so much, Councilmember
funeral
Phillips.
costs, et cetera.
All right, at this time, we will go to questions. I would say this, as I look at this list, this is about as long a list of journalists as I've seen in quite some time. So, a couple of ground rules. Please try to confine your questions to one or two. If there's additional follow-up, we can try to address that later, just so we can give everyone their opportunity. Number two, these questions I'm going to ask you out of respect for the family who are present here should be on the topic of today's press conference, please. And that's not the first time I've requested it. I'm sure that you understand why. And to the extent that you can confine them to the topics we are addressing today, please understand this is an ever-evolving, developing situation, both in terms of investigation and prosecution. There are things that we know today that we cannot tell you. And we cannot tell you for a variety of reasons: the integrity of the investigation, safety, the trauma that the family is dealing with is not best handled by their finding things out for the first time in the media. So we will try to be as transparent and open as we can, consistent with those obligations and consistent with the purpose of this press conference, which is to respect the family's needs and wishes. Channel 3 CBS, I see Joe Holden and Josh Sanders.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
I'll try to rattle these off, Mr. Krasner. First, can you give us any more information about the tip that leads police back to Ada Lewis? Secondly, how does she really meet Keon King, if you know? And then third, have there been any conversations about how King is out again after multiple, are you training people in your staff?
All right, so that's 3 questions. Let me address the third one. We are always trying to do better. We have already acknowledged, and I'll acknowledge again, we could have done better with respect to one or more of the decisions that were made in a case that was otherwise handled well. And we are looking at a variety of different options that I think are appropriate for the lessons that we have learned in this case. As for your other 2 questions, I'm going to ask Ashley Kozlowski to come forward to answer them for you.
So in terms of your first question about the tip, what I can share is that obviously initially we received a tip to go to a meeting last week. We received a tip to go to the Ada Lewis Middle School. Investigators went, did a thorough search. Essentially what the new tip was this weekend was go back. It was go back, she's there, look again, and they did give more specific details in terms of where to look. And ultimately that is what led us to her.
Text, email, can you say how?
I'm not going to say how. Obviously, we are investigating the tip, and we'll continue to do that, but the tip was more specific than the first. It was very specific to go back, and it was more specific in terms of where to look, and that is what the police did. And I'm sorry, your second question was?
How do they know each other?
I'm still not going to comment on that. It's something that is actively being investigated. Obviously, they knew each other to some extent. We believe in terms of maybe there was some cell phone communication, obviously. But other than that, I'm not going to comment in terms of how they know each other. That's something that's still, or where they met or how long they knew each other, because that is something that's still being investigated.
Come on. Yeah, who gave the tip, y'all? That's what
Channel
I'd like
6
to know.
ABC Tarhonda Thomas. Did I pronounce? My apologies.
Can I follow up with my colleague real quick? Just two follow-up.
You're Channel 3 CBS as well? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Of course, yeah.
Just 2 follow-up questions. You mentioned lessons learned. I wondered if you could give the specifics of those lessons that your office has learned in this. And my second question is this tipster have any relationship to
All right. So we're now getting into 5 questions from one station, but let me see what I can do for you, all right?
Have mercy.
I'm not going to get into all of the specifics, other than to say that we have already discussed in this office the value that we have seen for certain kinds of cases in specialization. It's something that we have done before in changing the way things have been done literally for decades in this office. I'll leave my comment on that point there. Your second question again, sir?
the tipster? Are they related to Keon King?
When you say the tipster, you're speaking of the tipster for the...
The person who followed up with the tip said go back and gave more details and be specific. Is this a family member of Keon King or someone related to Keon King?
I think I know what the answer is going to be, but let me check with Ashley Kozlowski. Well, that answer is a little different than I expected. The answer is we don't know, and we are investigating it at this time.
Wow.
All right.
Wow,
Taronda,
wow, wow.
I apologize for mispronouncing.
I want to make sure a point of clarification. Has the medical examiner officially confirmed that this is Kada Scott, made that positive identification? And then my second question is, going back to the case in January related to this, who withdrew the charges? Was it something that the DA's office did, the judge? Make that clarification.
So as for your first question, it has been confirmed that these are the human remains of Kada Scott, and that has been confirmed by DNA. I believe that's also been reported. There was some erroneous reporting that it was quick DNA. It was actually not quick DNA, it was the regular DNA. So that is resolved. And I'm sorry, your second question?
The second question was about the withdrawal of the charges with the January case. Who decided to withdraw those cases? Was it something done by the judge, the district attorney's office? And just as it relates to the witness not showing up, would it have been sufficient if that witness, for instance, gave a statement to police that was on video? Was that something that was there and not able to be used?
So Ms. Thomas, this is something we addressed previously. I'll go over it again in summary form. But this is a situation in which there were actually 2 witnesses. There was a complainant, there was an eyewitness. There were good efforts to have the case prepared, to contact them, to speak to them. There were good efforts to subpoena them. Nothing is perfect in this life, but that was all handled well. The case was marked must be tried by a judge at the first listing when these witnesses did not appear. Neither one of them appeared for either one of these two listings. That is a judicial decision. It is not our decision. And then on the second occasion, when these two witnesses did not appear again, the attorney who was handling this case was faced with having the case either thrown out or withdrawn. There are certain strategic reasons why it can be better to have it withdrawn. But understand, when a judge of a particular level, and here it's the municipal court, rules that this is a must-be-tried case, that, under the law as it exists, requires the second judge to throw it out if the case is not ready to be tried. As we have indicated before, I do believe that there is a way this could have been presented without those witnesses. The buck stops here. That is on me, that it was not handled in that fashion. But I also believe, as I've said before, that it's a tough situation, especially in domestic cases, when you have a defendant out of custody who's going to come in and out of the courthouse doors just like those witnesses. All right, Channel 10, Telemundo, Isabel Sanchez.
Sorry to be this but I will ask you in Spanish. Si nos puede hablar de estos nuevos cargos que presentan el día de hoy contra quién, por favor.
Tenemos cargos nuevos. En este caso, tienen que ver con lo que pasó con un automóvil. Quemaron el automóvil. Is that the right word? Okay. I saw those eyes. I thought I got it wrong. Let me try it again. Tenemos cargos nuevos, en este caso, sobre quemar un automóvil. Esos cargos van a incluir el cargo de arson, también de auto theft, receiving stolen property, causing a catastrophe. Son las palabras en inglés que tienen que ver con lo que hizo este defendiente en cuanto al automóvil que él usó para llevar a la víctima.
My second question would be, ¿se podrían esperar más cargos a medida que esta investigación continúa?
Okay, English and Spanish.
I just asked if we can expect more charges coming out soon in regards to this investigation.
I have reason to believe that there will be additional charges that will be coming. Exactly when is unclear, and it may be two different groups of additional charges, but yes, we expect there to be new charges. En español, yo creo que vamos a tener más cargos. En este caso, posiblemente en dos grupos, no puedo decir precisamente cuándo, pero van a venir en este caso. Thank you. Channel 10 NBC, Aaron
That is dope.
Baskerville.
That's dope. Speaking Spanish, I mean.
I got two, because oftentimes you said the second case is approved logistically. Is that a different case, or is that the other charges you're talking about, or is there a whole other case or another person that you're looking at? When you're gonna
Thank you for that
second case?
question.
Did somebody, a victim, come forward? What does that mean, the second case?
When I say a second case today here, what I'm talking about is that this arson of this automobile is a second case. Please remember that these events didn't all happen in a 30-minute period of time. These happen on different days, in different places. They involve different activity. You know, the theft of a car, the burning of a car is different than a kidnapping, for example. So what is happening today is the initiation of a second case that will not only require a second set of charges and arrest, for which the defendant is going to be brought down from custody. It'll require a second bail hearing. Some of the process may occur at the same time in terms of the prosecution itself, because it's part of a larger story. But what we are announcing today in and of itself is a second case. Could there be additional cases if there are other victims who come forward? Yes, there could be additional cases if there are other victims who come forward. There could be additional cases as more evidence develops and we have probable cause to bring more charges for things that happened over this period of a few weeks.
Nobody else stepped forward so far, other victims or anything like that?
I'm not going to comment on that at this time.
My second question is kind of more of the timeline. So just in my head, there's a lot of information. October 3rd, a car is stolen. We believe Mr. King stole that car, and then obviously she disappears October 4th. Then October 7th, the car is found burned and I guess towed away. At the rec center, is the car after it's stolen, or October 4th, is that the car that's used? We believe that Kada is in with Mr. King, and they're at the rec center. When are they at the rec center? In between that October 3rd, when the car is stolen, and October 7th, when the car is found burned and destroyed?
Well, I think you raise a very good point that the timeline is a little bit complex and confusing. And especially if you're talking about more than one car being used in more than one place, it's probably helpful to go through that timeline. So I'm going to ask Ashley Tislowski to come forward. And even though, we've been talking about this so quickly that we sometimes don't slow down to identify exactly what place, exactly what car, I'm going to ask Ashley as best as she can to explain this as if she were explaining to people who didn't know anything about it.
Talk to us like we're
In
idiots.
terms of the timeline, you pretty much got it accurate, meaning the car was stolen on October 3rd. Obviously, Ms. Scott goes missing the next day. That vehicle then, we believe, immediately goes to the rec center. We believe it remains there for about a day and a half until it then leaves and the car is burned. In terms of what the video showed or what we know about what happened there, I'm not going to comment on. I think there will be an appropriate time for those details to come out, and that appropriate time would be at the preliminary hearing when all of the evidence is presented. But in terms of a timeline, you had it right. October 3rd, the vehicle goes missing. October 4th, she goes missing. We then pick up the vehicle at that location where it remains for about a day and a half. It then leaves and is burned the next day on October 7th.
You believe Mr. King stole that car, or did somebody else steal that car and happen to just be in it?
I don't want to comment about what I believe happened. All I can say at this point is what the evidence that we have, and what I can say is the evidence that we have is that Mr. King's phone is on location when that vehicle is at the rec center, and it's on location when the car is burned. That is what we know right now.
Was it on location when it was stolen?
We have it in the area, but we do not have it on location. That's not to say he wasn't there. All we can do is look at the cell phone evidence that we have in terms of when calls are being made and when data can be plotted, if that makes sense.
All right, let me see. Channel 17, John Leonard. Do you have any questions, sir? Thank you. 29 Fox, Kelly Rule.
I think actually someone answered this, but the video evidence from the rec center, are you able to say if that shows anybody working with King? Or can you comment on, additional suspects?
Well, let me just note this, and then once again, I'll bring Ashley up. But you may have noticed that we're charging conspiracy with reference to the arson. Now, that's a separate place and time, but we don't bring charges unless we have probable cause. Let me now ask Ashley to come forward.
My answer is essentially going to be the same thing, right? I mean, obviously, we did charge conspiracy, so at this point, we do have reason to believe that other people may have been involved after the fact, but in terms of who those people are and the level of their involvement, I'm not going to comment at this time, as it's very much still being investigated.
And you mentioned that the car was towed and impounded. Is it believed that King had anything to do with that, or that was just the community making calls saying, like, if this car had
There was a 911 call that a vehicle was on fire. So police did respond to it. The fire department responded to it, ruled it an arson, and then at that point, when they were finished with their investigation, the car was demolished. It was burned. So it was taken and towed and compacted and yeah.
demolished before they could pull evidence from the car?
Yes. Well, and I'll say, when we got there, it was completely compacted, right? What the tow company had already done, or what the junkyard had done, had already been done. With that being said, the car had been completely burned. And in terms of being able to tell what happened, the fire department was able to say it was an arson, and we're also able to have video to kind of piece things together. So there's no question about what happened. We were able to determine that.
I mean, was she partially burned then?
Thank you. All right, let me see. Kristen Johansson, KYW.
Two questions. One's for Ashley. How does the car play in the gold Camry play in then to?
Yeah.
Because we're gonna have to say something about the gold car.
Yes, so what I can say at this time is that at the point where the Hyundai Accent is on scene, on video at the rec center leading up to, all of the events we're talking about, the other car, the Toyota, is there as well, and we believe the people in these vehicles are working together.
And then the other thing is how much, far as volumes, like how much surveillance video is it? Because I know there was a lot pulled from a lot of different locations. So how much, I mean, it's hard probably to quantify, but.
We have extensive amounts of video information at this point, and it's still being retrieved as we speak. And I expect there will be more. It is a lot of video. What I can say is that, initially when the video was recovered, they were reviewing it kind of in real time as it was being recovered, and that's the information I'm basing this all off of today. There will be more, and there is more, and their detectives will continue to go through all of the video. It's a lot of video.
And then for District Attorney Larry President, there's obviously been a lot of criticism of your office and how your office handled this case, but then also additionally how bail was handled in general. What can you do to ensure, or I guess ensure the public, or there's probably a better word there, ensure the public that there's not another Kada Scott that's going to come out, that there's not going to be another kind of case like this where, case is withdrawn, violence against women, case withdrawn, bail was not, appealed immediately. It seems that you're putting the blame on the judges for that. How can you ensure that there's not going to be another Kada Scott?
Well, actually, I think it was pretty clear that I wasn't putting the blame on the judges. I think I was pretty clear that I was blaming the existence of cash bail. And systemically, we all have to try to do better. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania should stop making money off of bail, and they should go to a system that is much more effective, one where truly dangerous people remain in custody, and that has worked for more than 3 decades in D.C., and that is about 12% of defendants. And where the rest of those defendants are not required to pay money, because for the most part, they face much less serious charges, and the only reason they're in jail is because they're broke. The bail system is broke. That should be fixed. That was not a criticism of individual judges. That was a criticism of that system. What I can tell you is that the buck stops here. We recognize that there are some things that could have been done better in this case. From the moment this occurred, we have been looking at ways that we can improve our systems, because we have to be open to systemic change as well, and we will have further announcements about that in the future.
So have you done any policy reviews or looked at anything?
We are-
Anything specific that you can tell the public about that?
We are actively looking at ways that we can do better. It is, it's everybody's view of this is always clear when you're looking back and you have fuller knowledge. It's nobody's view is quite as clear, whether it's a judge setting bail or it's a prosecutor making a decision. Nobody's view is quite as clear earlier. We need to try to change that. We need to try to find ways to be better at making sure that there are as few errors as possible and that there is as much protection as possible, especially in the current environment women face. Jesse Bunch, Philadelphia Inquirer.
So this is also about how prosecutors handled King's prior cases. We're seeing a warrant was signed on King's second case, the kidnapping charge on January 19th. I think King would be arrested and charged for that 7 months later, but in February, King would have had to appear in court for that first assault case from December. So I'm asking, why wasn't King taken into custody in February at the CJC if he had that open warrant out for him for the kidnapping charge?
I have to admit, I lost track somewhere in the middle there, and I don't say that to be in any way dismissive. Can you just say that again, please, so I can make sure that Ashley and I hear your points?
So for King's case in February, for the charges from December, in between then, there was a second case open against him, the kidnapping charges from January. There would have been an open warrant when he appeared in court in February for a different case, at least in my understanding. So we're just wondering why then was he not arrested and charged until April?
Let me see if I can help you with that. All right.
We can hear what you're saying.
So what I was just sharing with the DA was, in front of me, I don't have the date that warrant was actually dropped against Mr. King. I don't know if you have that or if you're just assuming that there was a warrant at the time, because I know he wasn't arrested until closer to April, and I believe the warrant was closer to that, but again, I don't have the date that that warrant came through, meaning I can't stand here and say that that warrant was active at the time he appeared. I don't have that in front of me.
We saw January 19th.
I'm not saying you're wrong, I just don't have it in front of me. In terms of when the warrant came through, I don't know. But obviously, once he was arrested, bail was set at that time.
All right, let me see. Tom McDonald, WHYY.
I know you don't have a specific timetable, but in similar cases like this, where there's a homicide in question, how long does it usually take for the results from the autopsy to move forward so you can charge?
I think that's a great question. I'm just trying to, consistent with our need to protect certain information and provide certain information, I'm just trying to figure out how much we can say to answer that. If you don't mind, I'm going to huddle up with Bob Wainwright and with Ashley Teslowski and see what we can say.
This is wild. I've never seen something like this before. What can we say? What can't we say? I think we should do this, okay? Are we going to go to Subway after this? I'm hungry. Are you not hungry? You want a sandwich or you want some pizza? I'm down for a burger. This is very weird. I've never seen something like this before. Let's do that. Let's talk about that.
To answer your question, how long does it typically take? It typically takes a short amount of time when the incident happens and the body is found immediately afterwards. Cases like this, it may take longer. So there's really no exact answer to that. And what we all know is that Kada Scott's human remains were found 2 weeks after she went missing. So it is not, there's no, what I can tell you also is that the medical examiner's office is actively working on this, and we're waiting on a cause and manner of death, and we should have that information as soon as possible.
But you're preparing homicide charges.
I think that's a fair statement.
All right, let me see. Sherry Stone, Philadelphia Tribune.
I guess it's too early to understand the manner of death, like, were there, did the shooter, hit in the head? We don't know that yet.
What I can say is we are not in a position to convey that information at this time.
Nothing.
There is a very serious forensic effort here to get it right, and we don't want to get ahead of that, but as soon as, consistent with the family's needs and wishes, as soon as we are able to confirm precisely the answer to that question, it will be communicated either in a courtroom or in terms of press availability, once again, in consultation with the family. Jack Tomchuk from the Metro.
Following up on Tom's question, I guess, I think the reason why I think, why having a murder charge is that just waiting for the medical examiner or because, you said there remains to be confirmed DNA.
Well, I will say this, I am confident that homicide charges will be brought, but I also have an obligation to follow the law and uphold the Constitution, and that means we don't take shortcuts. We don't make assumptions. We confirm all the facts before we figure out the legal conclusion to be drawn. So we will be proceeding with homicide charges when we can very precisely confirm everything we need for probable cause, and we will do so as quickly as we can once we have confirmed what we need to establish probable cause for that particular charge. All right, Mr. Dean from the Trace.
Yes, you explained the bail system role for the previous case that dealt with King. Then in the second reference said, the doctor said white.
Right.
Practically speaking, what are the consequences
Well, let me just be clear. I mean, blame is a word people seem to like. I have not been a fan of cash bail from the beginning because I think it endangers the public. I have spoken about this going back almost 7 years, and I am aware of the reasons that it continues to exist in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. They're not wonderful. Let me put it that way. That is a truth. I hold that truth. And I think it would be a great advance if this state, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, would get away from cash bail and go in the direction of no cash bail, where some people, no matter what their resources, are going to be held because they're a danger. I wish we would go that way. So I do hold that truth, but I also hold the truth that we can do better, that we should try to do better every day, that even though many decisions, many aspects of the preparation of this case were solid, that there were other aspects of the preparation of this case where we could do better. So I say the buck stops here because in an office of 650 people, it is my responsibility. If there is an attorney who makes a decision, and if that decision is not the best one that could have been made. Yes, sir.
Well, your critics will say this is exactly what we've been talking about for the last 50 years. Larry Krasner's bungles cases, criminals at the revolving door. There's office with criminals coming in and going out back on the street. This is exactly what they're talking about. And you're running for re-election in 2 weeks for a third term. Should this be on the ballot? Should people consider that how this case was handled when they go into vote on November 4th?
Well, your question is fundamentally political, and I'm not allowed to answer political questions using city resources. It's an ethical violation, so I will respectfully pass on that question. Dan Horan from Philly FPV. Did I get that right?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
One question. You guys stated that the car was there for about a day and a half in between the elementary school and the rec center. Does King's mobile phone data show that he was also on that location for that duration of time?
Let me bring up the expert here.
So again, I'm not going to go into specifics about what occurred during that time. However, what I could tell you at pertinent points in the video where we believe he was there, his cell phone evidence also puts him there. So it's not the entire time, but at the pertinent points where we're looking for him to be there, his cell phone puts him there, if that helps.
Thank you.
Michaela Althouse, Philly Voice.
I have a feeling there's somebody else involved.
So charges against that, as you said, have been refiled. It is listed for its kind of first preliminary hearing listing after the refile on November 4th.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Cipriano, big trial.
Mr. President, 4 years ago, when you were running for re-election, your office failed to prosecute a domestic abuser and eventual murderer of a Hispanic mother, Gladys Coriano.
Mr. Cipriano, questions are about this press conference, not about your wandering view of the planet. Do you have a question that goes to the subject matter here?
And here we are 4 years later, and you and your inexperienced team of, quote, superstars that you repeatedly bragged about, comparing them to Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley, by their incompetence, inexperience, or ideology blows of your rhetoric are directly responsible for the death of promising black female Kada Scott. How many domestic violence murders does the city have to endure, sir? How many more grieving families will have to go through the same type of tragedy before you admit you're a failed civil rights lawyer, not a prosecutor?
Sir, putting aside your wildly disrespectful approach to what's happening here, your complete absence of kindness and compassion, which is exactly what is contained in this request from the family. Putting that aside, I would bring you back to this. Please honor Kada's memory by showing kindness and care to one another, just as she did every day of her life. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I've got a second question, sir. You took 5 from CBS. Where you go? Hey, Larry, you have to wake up at 3:30. You said some of these bail magistrates don't want people woken up at 3:37 in the afternoon. Who'd you have to wake up?
Wow. Okay, that's one way to end a press conference. Hamburger. That was insane. What? Like what? Okay. Okay. That happened. What the hell was that? What the hell was that? But okay. All right then. All right. So here's the thing, okay? That was why that ending was interesting. Like all of a sudden out of nowhere, they're like, yeah, we're done. They, because I mean, that guy was just straight up just going in, right? Now so I know there's a lot of questions people are asking, okay? So hold on. Y'all are all commenting. It's blazing like crazy. Hold on. Okay, so people are asking what did he say that was so disrespectful? He was just going in on the DA. He was basically saying, "Oh yeah, election was 4 years ago. Now after 4 years, you failed us as a city. All of these monsters are being let out. You and what you claim to be your team of stars have done nothing but bring nothing but mayhem and problems for the people of Philadelphia." So then he's like, so I'm wondering, when are you going to start taking care of the people so that we don't have more situations like Kada Scott happening in the future? And so, of course, and he was mentioning other cases too, where he says this guy in the back, where he said that DA messed up, where he dropped the ball, right? Another DV victim that lost their lives 4 years ago. You dropped the ball on this. Now we're back here again 4 years later, and you've done it again, right? You dropped the ball on this particular monster when he should have been locked up, and Kada should still be alive today. And of course, the DA is not having it. I mean, he could. Let's be real. What he had to say was not wrong. Okay? What he had to say was not wrong. It's how he packaged what he was saying. You see what I'm saying? Because he could have easily asked the question, hey, given the fact that this is happening over and over and over again, and now we have somebody like a monster like this guy, like Keon King, who got out and he went out and wreaked havoc. How are we going to know that this won't happen in the future, right? Somebody asked that as well. Same thing. How do we know that this is going to stop? Somebody asked that question as well earlier. They just didn't package it the way that dude packaged it. He packaged it. He was out of pocket on that one. Okay. Now, just because he's saying it in that way doesn't make it less true. It's a damn good question. If this has happened before, now this happened again, where Keon King got let loose to only go out there and do terrible things to the likes of Kada and other people, when is it going to stop? It's a damn good question. He just packaged it in a way to be damning. And that's why you saw the DA basically be like, all right, we're done. I ain't talking to you. Peace out. We done. But that's some crazy stuff, okay? So again, how he started it and how he ended that question. Woo! Interesting. But here it is. There's a lot of people that are angry right now because, again, you have a career criminal going out here and doing these bad things. So let's talk about this really, really quick, because I do have something I want to share with y'all before we wrap this thing up. And again, because it has to do with this whole case. Okay. So one thing is for sure. They're saying that he's getting new charges. Keon King is getting new charges. This monster, this piece of trash is getting new charges. some of these charges, none of them have anything to do with homicide. I want to make that abundantly clear. None of them have anything to do with homicide yet. Let's just say that. None of them have anything to do with homicide. All of it has to do with theft, stealing of a car, burning of a car, arson, etc. But he is not getting charged with the unaliving of this woman yet, of Kada Scott. That's something that's very interesting, because you'd think that they would come up here and say, yep, we're about to throw the damn library at this mother lover. Okay, not just the book, but the whole damn library at him. But they're starting to. They're pulling out the books bit by bit, okay? But he's still not getting charged with the unaliving of her, which is insane to me. I just want to make that abundantly clear. Now, here's the other thing. So again, they're saying on October 3rd, he stole a car, which was a 2008 black Hyundai Accent, all right? He took that car. Then he went and he nabbed Kada Scott on October 4th. Now, obviously, we know where she ended up. They found her in that abandoned school yard, okay? But one thing is for sure. They say that some things went down at this rec center where he took this car, this black 2008 Hyundai Accent. He drove that car to a rec center. And in that parking lot, I don't know. We don't know what exactly happened there, right? They haven't really given much information, but apparently that's the exact same spot that his hoopty, that 1999 Toyota Camry, was parked in that same parking lot as well. So my assumption is that between the time that he grabbed her, like nabbed her, from that moment to the rec center parking lot, he did some very, very bad, illegal, and deplorable things to her. And then the car got burned 3 days later, okay, after she was taken, was burned. That's when the car was taken, and then, of course, it got compounded or, mashed up and all that stuff. But between the time that he took her, which is October 4th, to the time that the car was set on fire, I think crimes, if you get what I'm saying, were happening to her in that car. And then maybe he was moving the car around with her remains in it, not knowing where or what he could do. Now, the question that they never answered, or they never asked as well, is, did he burn the car and leave her in the car? You see what I'm saying? Did he try to burn her and then he was like, oh, never mind? Or did he just burn the car? That's another thing I'm kind of curious about. Either he tried to burn her and then had a change of heart, but nonetheless, sounds like he transported her into another car, possibly, and that's where he drove to the schoolyard and then buried her. So it's either he did that in his Toyota Camry, or he unalived her. He did whatever he did, unalived her, used that car, used the 2008 black Hyundai Accent to drive to that schoolyard, buried her, took the car back to this rec center where his other car was, tried to burn the car, and then drove off in his 1999 Toyota Camry hoopty. But nonetheless, I want to point something out here. This proves that there is premeditation, if you really think about it. Reason why there's premeditation is because the car was stolen on the 3rd of October. The very next day, she's taken. The very next day, she's taken on October 4th. This is premeditation. So he knew what he was going to do. He stole that car specifically so that he could do the taking of Kada Scott. So this shows premeditation. Okay? I don't think he just stole the car for ish and giggles and then decided, well, since I've already stole his car, let me just nab somebody today. You know what I mean? No, he stole the car to specifically go and take her. Also, maybe to hide some of his tracks. Because let's be real, that banged up, jacked up hoopty, that 1999 Toyota Camry, come on now. Golly. You can see that damn hoopty from space. So if he was to drive around with her in that car and somebody was to report her missing, we saw this ugly ass gold-plated 1999 Toyota Camry, they're going to go, oh, it's right there. Everyone's going to see it. So that's why I think he stole the car in plans to go and try to take her the very next day. Now, obviously, crimes happened. She lost her life. How? They won't let us know that either, which is really annoying. Okay? Well, they won't let us know about that either. But he was trying to cover up his tracks. So again, that car was specifically stolen to do crimes with. And that main crime was to take Kada and do God knows what. Now, the other thing I'm also wondering, and I'm wondering, the one thing I'm for sure that I can't help but just keep asking the question over and over and over and over again. Did he work alone? Did he do this all by himself? Or was there somebody else involved? That's one thing I think a lot of us are going to be asking until they actually give us some real information about that too. Okay? But nonetheless, this is very, very interesting. Okay? Now, I'm only going to play a little bit of this video. Okay? There's a video from somebody who knows Keon. And they talk about how, yeah, he was known in the streets as the pharmacist, right? So I am kind of curious about this. This is, again, like I said, the timeline, they haven't really given us much. It's annoying. It's really, really annoying. Okay? But, you know, we can clearly see there's premeditation before the actual act that went down. I think this has to do with two different things. I think that he was the hookup, he was the plug, he was the pharmacist. He was able to move things around. I think that's how he found her or met her. Then I think there's an obsession that came after that. And then he started plotting. I don't think this is a situation where it's like she owed him crap tons of money or something like that or anything nefarious like that. I think that maybe he dealt her one time and then became obsessed. Also, I want to point this out too. The Mary Jane is not recreationally legal in Philly, okay, in Pennsylvania, just so you know. All right. So again, something, I feel like something's up. You know, like I said, he may have been, selling trees. He was the one that she somehow got his number. He dealt her some stuff, maybe in the past, and then became obsessed. Because again, like I said, it wouldn't make any sense for him to just have this car out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like, have premeditation to do bad things before he even met her. You see what I'm saying? So again, I truly think he knew of her. He started asking questions. And then he had a plan. He stole that car. He took her, then did crimes, then tried to cover up his tracks by burning the car. Now the car was found. It was impounded. It was, it was taken into to a junkyard. It got mashed up. So that's one thing that they're trying to, I guess, retrieve some information or retrieve some evidence from that car. But again, that car was mashed up into a tiny cube, basically. Okay. So this is very, very interesting. Let's take a look at this. This is just something I found very, very interesting. I'm going to speed up the thing here too. Okay. Just so we can, hopefully it won't be too crazy. Let's take a listen.
And I'm going to be discussing some of the misinformations that are going around in the internet regarding me and the Kada Scott situation. So if you are unaware, Kada Scott is a girl that went missing in Philadelphia on October 4th. So I did know Keon. He was my friend. I met him about 4 or 5 years ago, and he was also the local pharmacist. Now, me and my best friend, we were also mutual friends with Keon. He was our pharmacist. So one day Keon calls me, and keep in mind, I am in school, I am in Maryland, and he will usually just call me, just to check up and talk. So he calls me, and he asks me if I know Kada. And I'm like, yeah, like, I know Kada. And he's like, oh, yeah, I noticed that she lives really close to you. I'm like, yeah, like, she lived right in the back of me. And I'm not thinking nothing of it, because he usually calls me, and, we just be chatting. He'll call me about, like, the people that be around, because he is the pharmacist. I live in the neighborhood, and he be in my neighborhood. So we hang up the phone, and that was that. We were only on the phone for 29 seconds.
Okay. Sorry, this is going really, really fast, but okay. So she says that she knows Keon. And he is obviously the local, you know what I'm saying? He's the local pharmacist. He's calling up this girl who happens to be in college at the time, asking her about Kada. So he's asking specifics about Kada right off the bat before he went and took her. So he might have been finding out as much information as he could from the neighborhood. Oh, yeah, Kada, yeah, she works at this spot. Or, I heard she, it's like that nonchalant thing. Like, do you know about Mike? It's like, yeah, I know Mike. Yeah, he works at that spot down a little ways. He works at that mechanic shop. You know what I mean? He cool. He all right. Why you ask? And that person's like grabbing that information. Oh, word? Okay, so you do. Okay, he works there. All right, bet. Maybe that's what it was, right? But he was asking around about her. Allegedly, this is from, somebody who's on TikTok saying this stuff. Interesting stuff, though.
So you can see that this is the day that he called me, and this was before Kada went missing, and we were only on the phone for 29 seconds. Also, I know that his name says Elliot in my phone. That's just what we call him. So a couple days after that, my best friend calls me, and, we're just talking about life. And I mentioned to her how Keon brought up Kada to me. I'm not thinking nothing of it. I'm like, oh, yeah, like, he was probably trying to flirt with her. He's probably trying to get at her. Mind you, me and my best friend, we know Kada because we grew up with her little sister. Now, we didn't know Kada personally because, again, we grew up with her little sister. We were around 12, 11 years old. Kada, she was much older than us, so we didn't really talk to her. So my best friend was like, oh, yeah, like, he probably thought she was cute, and that was that. So right here is the day that I called my best friend and told her that, Keon was trying to get at Kada. This is before she went missing. So a couple days, maybe a week after that, it is reported on October 4th that Kada is missing. So keep in mind, I am in Maryland, so I'm not really into all the Philadelphia news that be going on, so I'm not knowing that Kada is missing. And so my best friend sends me a text and says that Kada is missing. So this is the day that my best friend tells me that Kada is missing on October 9th. So I'm in my friend's dorm, and I call Keon, and it's a lot of music and a lot going on in the background. So I go somewhere that's quiet, and I tell him, Keon, Kada is missing. Like, that girl, she's missing. So he was like, what? And then after that, the phone just hung up. So here you can see that I called Keon, and we were on the phone for 2 minutes. So you have to keep in mind, this was my friend, okay? I did not think that he could be capable of anything like this. In my head, I'm just thinking, there's no way in the world he could have did something like this. There's no way in the world. So then a couple days after that, my mom sends me a screenshot of Keon turning himself in for the kidnapping of Kada. So this is my mom sending me the article, and she was distraught to say the least. And I know she said that he was a random person, but she says this about all of my friends. So me and my best friend, we get on the phone, and we're talking about the situation. We're just saying how this is just crazy. This is the call of me and her talking about it. Now, this is all happening around the time that I'm taking my midterms. So I'm really just trying to keep my head on the books. And I wasn't really trying to let this stress me out. So I kind of just let it go. He turned himself in. It's not really much to say or do anymore. So a couple days after that, me and my best friend get on the phone, and we're basically just, talking about the Kada situation. And she says that she thinks that I should call the cops. So she was basically saying that she thinks that I should call the cops and tell them that Keon was, asking about Kada. Now, at the time in my head, I'm thinking that there was no reason to call the cops. He already turned himself in, and I felt like it would be kind of a waste of time to tell them that the guy that they already have in custody, called me and was asking about the girl. And me personally, I'm not a cop caller. Like, I don't call the cops. That's just the way that I grew up. That's what I was around. They would always tell me, you don't call the cops. So I just felt like, the information that I had and the fact that, I'm just not really a cop caller, it wouldn't make sense for me to call the cops. So then my best friend tells me, well, if you won't call the cops and tell them, then I will. And then she basically tells me that she doesn't want to be friends with me anymore because I won't call the cops. And I told her, that's completely fine. I just don't want any involvement. So then we hung up the phone, and then I believe she called me again with the police on the other line. So you can see, I told her, I'm sorry, I'm not talking to the cops. And yeah. Now, I can't see how this could be cruel, and I do take accountability for that.
Okay. So, of course, like I said, you're hearing from somebody there, from the neighborhood, basically saying like, hey, yeah, he was asking around about her. Right. Now, of course, we can take this with a grain of salt because, you never know. This person could be the particular person in this TikTok could be, making this up, lying or whatever. But one thing is for sure. we're hearing that this guy was already asking around about her and trying to understand who this person is, right? And you got a girl, a young woman who is obviously got things going for herself. She's very kind, from what I've heard from multitude of different places. People are saying how sweet and kind she is, and how she would, make time for everybody, make time for anybody, really. It's interesting. You know what I mean? There's also another story that I heard where a guy was like, yo, she pretty much would be responsive to everybody. He was like, yeah, I pulled up. I guess a guy who was hitting on her. He pulled up in a ride, and was able to take her out on a date from just pulling up on a ride and saying, hey, what's your name? And trying to talk to her that way. You see what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean anything. Okay. That doesn't mean that, that should not be a reflection on who this girl is and all that. I just think that it is very interesting that you're hearing from people out here that are like, hey, this guy was asking questions about her specifically. Like I said, he grew an obsession. That's what it is to me. I think that, yes, she might be a very sweet person. She might be a nice person. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And obviously somebody saw that as an opportunity to take advantage of the situation. But it is interesting that, like I said, she went to work, she was there for a few minutes, and then she walked right out afterwards. Like I said, why? What was the reason why? Was it to just get a hookup? Trying to get ready for the weekend or something like that. And she was trying to re-up before the weekend or something like that. I don't know, but it seems weird, right? And yeah, if she did reject him, was it at that moment when she's walking out of her job? Just only a few minutes or so, after just shortly being there, clocking into work. It just seems weird. Like I said, I think that there's something else going on here. Okay. And I don't think, and I'm still curious if he's the only one who operated this, did this whole thing himself. Did he operate on his own, or did he have somebody else there helping him out? I don't know. But this is something that's very interesting. And like I said, we're going to keep an eye on this because they're not done yet. They have not pressed charges on him for unaliving her yet. And that's the other thing, too. We don't know how she lost her life yet. Here's the other thing. We don't know if he was by himself. The way that they talked, the way that we heard, I forgot the blonde woman's title. I forgot her name, her title. I'm so sorry. But she said, we could see that they were working with the cars together. And I'm going, they could mean so many different things. But in my mind, I'm like, could there have been something else going on, that maybe there was somebody else involved, right, in the attacks and the unaliving of her? Like I said, these are all questions that I have, and hopefully we'll get an answer here very, very soon. But that is the show, guys. Okay. We're not totally there yet as far as getting justice for Kada, but we will get it soon. I'm wondering, this is fully premeditated, guys. He was thinking about this before he did it. And I keep wondering, could he have been working in unison with somebody else that had another, somebody else who was obsessed with her too? You never know. Or did he just do this all by himself? We're going to find out. Sounds like there's more going on, guys. Like I said, the person who said, go back to that location, go start digging. She's out there. Who is that? That's what I want to know too. But anyway, guys, I appreciate all y'all for being here. It really means a lot. Hit that like button down below. Crush the do what to do. Hit that reaction button if you're watching on these other platforms. If you are watching on these other platforms, make sure you hit that follow button. Subscribe here on my YouTube channel. Check out the Pascal Show clips and Pascal Raw. Make sure you subscribe over there. Hit that notification bell. Set them all to all so you know when I go live, whenever I upload. Hit that join button down below. Check out my Patreon. And, of course, check out PascalMerch.com. Okay, guys. Anyway, it is time to get going. Much love to you guys. I'll be talking to you guys very, very soon. Stay safe out there. And if there's any more updates on this, we'll be talking here soon. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.